If you want an Australian visa, you might need to do this. It's an English language test. There's many different types and different visas require different scores. And if you're desperate to get a top mark just so you can get that visa, well, there's plenty of people to help.
Today we're going to be talking about things that you should know.
After practicing with me, your score goes from 50 to 90.
All you need to do is learn 7 simple strategies. Just keep watching.
These type of services are in high demand because even if you speak fluent English, the Australian government wants you to prove it again, again, and again.
Can't tell you how many of those I've done, 6, 7 maybe.
This is Apsara. She's spent 13 years in Australia, but she still needs to prove her language skills every time she moves to a new visa.
So I've spent almost $3,000 just doing English tests just to prove that I have a good command of the language, which I'm sure you can tell I'm fluent. It's my first language, but I do what I can to comply and follow the rules, so can't say it's one that makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah.
When applying for a visa, migrants must submit documents to prove they are eligible. Some documents, like police checks and health reports, are only valid for a year. Language certificates are only valid for 1 to 3 years. So if you need one for your visa, you might need to pay for another test.
How is it that my scores have always been the highest and I have to constantly prove that I have a good command of the English? I don't understand this.
I've spoken with many migrants, and while most understand that English is essential to live or work or study in Australia, they are frustrated by the costs and contradictions in the system.
I've seen students who were actually depressed because of this. It's almost $500 plus this cost of preparation, the time you put in, the time, effort.
This is Varun. He runs a language academy that helps people in India and Australia prepare for the Pearson PTE test. He says migrants prefer the PTE because it's computer-based and marked by AI. That means they can avoid the stress and potential bias of human examiners. But AI is not perfect.
If I have to be very honest, AI is smart, but it's not as smart as humans.
Social media is filled with content creators sharing ways to trick the AI.
This video is about the tricks, the cheat codes to tackle those changes, to fool the AI so that you can get your scores.
It was so pervasive that Pearson had to overhaul its marking system.
There were some shortcuts or strategies or loopholes. Test takers who solely rely on strategies or shortcuts are struggling to get their scores.
Pearson did not respond to questions about the alleged manipulation of its marking system. Meanwhile, the Australian government has overhauled what scores it will accept from different testing providers. The Department of Home Affairs said some score equivalencies were increased and others decreased to more accurately meet the department's proficiency requirements and ensure consistency between all test providers. It also said they monitor service quality to ensure fraud and integrity issues are tracked and minimised. But that's just one of many concerns that migrants have about the testing regime. Australia's immigration system recognises 5 standards of English. Different visas require different standards, but if you have one of these passports, you are assumed to be competent.
Once you have a passport, you go through the system. There's no test requirement, irrespective of your level of competency.
The exemption for certain visas covers Western countries with strong cultural ties to Australia, but English isn't necessarily universal. Pew Research Centre found 9% of Americans over 5 years old are not proficient in English, and 14% speak another language at home.
Asian countries where English is the official language of teaching, instruction, and everything else, you have to do a test, irrespective of the fact that all of your education and working experience will have been in the English language.
The Australian government says it has a non-discriminatory visa system, and visa applications must satisfy all legislative criteria to be granted a visa, regardless of their nationality or country of origin. Some visas work on a point-based system. The better your English, the more points you score. So some migrants retake the exam to maximise their chance of getting a visa. But international students also often need to retake the tests because their documents expire. Sometimes they do one test before they start their degree and another after they graduate to move to a work visa.
People complete Australian universities with a university degree and they still require them to do a test. People are employed, they require them to do a test. And meanwhile, these tests become a source of economic gain for industry players who are involved in conducting the test. And anybody can fail them, including Australian citizens.
The Australian government says English tests are required to reduce immigration risk and ensure visa holders fully participate in the Australian community. The government said there are testing exemptions across a range of visa subclasses, including for education in English. Visas and the rules that govern them are complex, and while not every visa requires proof of language, for the migrants that come here to fill skill shortages or prop up our education system, it's just one more hoop to jump through.
I don't think anybody feels good and calm when it comes to a visa application. I think it's something that just looms over your head until you have it. I've definitely been in positions where, it's cutting it really close to whether I've had to leave. I just never truly feel comfortable. It's not a space I get to be in.